Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the very fabric of corporate America. And today we've got a filing that hints at some interesting tidbits, maybe even a little something cooking behind the scenes with Harrow Incorporated. So imagine a company that tells you about its money stuff and some other news right before the year winds down. That is pretty much what Harrow Incorporated did in this latest report. It is not a full deep dive into their entire year, but it gives us a snapshot of what they were up to. Before we dive in, if you want to stay ahead of these corporate plays and get insights faster, make sure you subscribe. Also, we have a fantastic community on Discord linked in the description below where we break down these filings together. Alright, so first things first, this is a report filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission. Or SEC, it is a standard form called an 8K, which is like a breaking news alert for publicly traded companies. It is used when something important happens that investors should know about right away. Now, the date on this report is the 11th of August 2025, but the earliest event they're talking about happened a bit later, on the 10th of November 2025. This is a bit unusual, but it usually means they're backdating certain disclosures to a point where something significant occurred or was decided. It is like saying, this is what we've been working towards. And here is the official announcement. The company we're looking at is Harrow Incorporated. They are incorporated in Delaware, which is a popular state for companies to set up shop because of its business-friendly laws. Their commission file number is 001-35814, and their IRS employer identification number, which is like their social security number for tax purposes, is 567,010. Harrow Incorporated has its common stock with a par value of $0.001 per S-share, trading under the symbol Harrow on the Nasdaq stock market LLC. That is important because it tells us where you can trade their stock and what the official ticker symbol is. Now, the most interesting part of these types of reports often comes in the results of operations and financial condition section. For Harrow Incorporated, they announced their financial results for the period ending the 30th of September 2025 and also shared some updates on recent company events. This news came out on the 10th of November 2025 in the form of a press release and a letter to their stockholders. They are essentially attaching these documents as exhibits to this report for everyone to see. Then we have Regulation FD disclosure. This part is all about making sure information is shared fairly with everyone. If a company shares important news with one group of investors, they have to share it with all investors at the same time. Here, they're saying they're also attaching a presentation that management might use when talking to investors. This is common practice, as companies often use these presentations to explain their business and strategy. The company clearly states that the information provided in items 2.02 and 7.01, including all the attached exhibits, will not be considered officially filed, with the SEC in the same way that other parts of the report might be. This means they're not taking on the same level of legal responsibility for this specific information as they would for other parts of the filing. They also mentioned that this information won't automatically be considered part of any future SEC filings like registration statements, and they're not promising to update this information later. This is important because it means they're being very careful about what they're officially committing to. So what is in these attachments? We have Exhibit 99.1, which is the press release about their November 2025 financial results. Then there is Exhibit 99.2, a letter to stockholders dated the same day. And finally, Exhibit 99.3, a corporate presentation from November 2025. These documents hold the real meat of the story. The filing wraps up with item 9.01, which lists all the exhibits. We've got the press release, the letter to stockholders, and the corporate presentation all listed here. There is also something called Exhibit 104, which is the cover page interactive data file. This is a more technical bit that helps computers read the filing more easily, especially if you are into that kind of thing. Finally, we see the signature section. This report is signed by Andrew R. Boll, who holds important positions as President and Chief Financial Officer of Harrow Incorporated. This means he is a key executive responsible for the company's financial health and overall direction. Now, let's talk about the real story here. This filing, dated the 10th of November 2025, is announcing financial results for the period ending the 30th of September 2025. This means we are looking at their third quarter performance from 2025. While the filing itself doesn't contain the detailed financial tables, it points us to exhibits 99.1 and 99.2. which are the press release and the letter to stockholders. These are where the actual numbers and the company's narrative about those numbers will be. Unfortunately, I can't directly access and interpret the content of those attached exhibits since they are external documents referenced in this 8. However, based on how these filings generally work, The press release and the letter to stockholders would typically highlight key financial metrics. We'd be looking for revenue, earnings, per share, profit margins, and maybe some guidance for the future. The press release will likely put a positive spin on things, as companies do. While the letter to stockholders might offer a bit more context from the CEO or CFO, let's imagine for a moment what those numbers might reveal. If revenue, let's say, grew by 20% compared to the same period last year, that is a strong sign of market demand and successful sales strategies. But if the profit margin, which is the percentage of revenue that turns into profit, declines significantly, say by 15%, it could mean their costs are rising faster than their sales, or they're having to cut prices to compete. That would be a red flag, indicating that while they're selling more, they're making less on each sale. A substantial drop in profit margin could mean they're losing their competitive edge or facing increased operational costs that they can't pass on to customers. If they mention a new strategic initiative in the letter to stockholders, we'd want to see if the financial results so far support that new direction. For example, if they talk about expanding into a new market, we'd look for early signs of revenue growth from that segment. Conversely, if they're experiencing increased debt, we'd be concerned about their ability to manage those obligations, especially if interest rates are rising. A company with a lot of debt could be vulnerable to economic downturns or unexpected expenses. What is missing in this 8K itself is the hard financial data. We don't see the balance sheet or the income statement directly here. This report acts more as a public announcement that these crucial documents are available. The real analysis would happen by dissecting the press release and the letter to stockholders. We'd be looking for any language that suggests whether the company is growing, struggling, or maintaining its position. Is the tone optimistic or cautious? Are they highlighting achievements or explaining setbacks? Looking broadly at this filing, Harrow Incorporated is using the standard channels to communicate important updates. The fact that they are highlighting their financial results and providing a corporate presentation suggests they are actively engaging with their investors. The date discrepancy might indicate a strategic decision to announce results shortly after the quarter ended, perhaps to align with a specific investor event or market condition. In terms of company direction, we can only speculate without the actual financial data. However, the requirement for Harrow to file such reports means they are subject to strict oversight, which is a good thing for transparency. Potential risks often lie in market competition, economic shifts, and the company's ability to execute its strategy. Opportunities might arise from new product developments, market expansion, or strategic partnerships. The key will be to see if the data in those attached exhibits backs up any positive spin the company might present. To sum it up, this 8K report from Harrow Incorporated is a notification filing. It tells us that significant financial news and an investor presentation were released on the 10th of November, 2025 relating to the quarter ending the 30th of September, 2025. The real substance for analysis lies within those attached exhibits. Without them, it is hard to give a definitive assessment of their financial health or strategic direction. However, the filing guarantees that the information is now publicly available. Alright, that is our quick decode of Harrow Incorporated's 8K filing. What are your theories about what those financial results might show? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more corporate insights. And don't forget to join our growing community on Discord. The link is in the description. See you next time.